Hey guys, Big J here from the Centre Bounce. In today's video, I'm going solo. We're going to look at all the break-evens, the players that you guys should bring in your teams, and the ones that you guys need to watch out for over the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned. Today's episode's a bit of a different one. It's just me. Joe's not here. Hopefully, guys, don't click off the video. We're just going to go over the players. There's a couple of guys that you guys should really consider bringing in. I'm going to give my thoughts on a few of the players, especially Charlie Comben, and what his price kind of means in terms of bringing him into your Supercoach team this week. The guys that you guys should really look out for, and the ones you shouldn't. And this week, definitely, before we head into this, start to have a look at what you're going to do in terms of the later buy rounds, but also over the next couple of weeks as well. A lot of us are blessed with having a Massimo, a Zach Williams, a Closey in the back line. That potentially could be your D4, D5, D6. Next week is not best 18, and I think that's really going to catch a lot of people out. Get rid of the dud rookies on field. Get rid of those players that, hey, maybe aren't going to score that well for us or aren't going to make cash, which is really the big thing. You need to have hit probably $12 million so far in terms of cash generation in your team. I don't think I've seen any 12.5 value teams, but I've definitely seen quite a few 12, like 12.3. And I know myself, I'm 12.5. So if you're not around me where I am, you really need to start prioritizing that cash gen because we know we're getting rookies now. We might not be getting rookies later. Let's check out the players. Cool. So we're just going to go over all the low break evens first, the guys that you guys should really bring in and the ones you probably should consider for next week. So Closey, similar to Will Graham, these are the two guys that you really need to have brought in last week and over this week. A lot of us grabbed Closey last week after the 116, and we were granted a 124. So if you do not have him, I don't know what you're doing. Are you even playing Supercoach this year? Right, chuck him in your team. Similar with the Will Graham. The DPP is fantastic. And yes, round 7, we're going to get a lot of DPP. But just having that now, I know Joe himself has done a swing in his midfield to his back line as well. So must have, basically. The beautiful thing is, similar or opposite to what a Comben's done, Will Graham has a 91 in his round 2, which means that is valid for round, like his first price rise, his second, and his third, and heading into his fourth as well, versus Comben, who we'll talk about next, who does have a 125 or 128, I think, in his first run, but that's only valid for the first price rise because it was round his first cycle. So his first lot of price rise, that will be in, and then next week after that, it'll be a 75. So just something to consider there. So these two definitely must have over this week and last week. Charlie Comben is one who do what you like to do, right? He's got a fantastic role in the club, playing key back interceptor. We know what he did in the first week. Last week, with Dawson out of the side, it felt like he was made to feel a bit more accountable, and he did go missing at parts of the game. He had a fantastic first half, and then Biggie kind of took over a little bit, who we'll talk about here in number 7. I personally am not getting him in, and there's 2 reasons for that. Originally, my plans was to get him in. I was trading out a Sexton. Well, if I do that, I have to spend cash. I think it was about 40 or 50K. And with the value of a trade effectively being 100K, I've now brought in Comben, and he's plus 150K. So I need him at a minimum to make it up to 370, and I'm just not sure he can do it. Yes, the scoring will be there. Maybe you guys and your teams are going to be a bit different, but if you have a look at my side, after this week, I've got 25 trades. So it's not a lot. Keep in touch with how your team's going, with how everything's looking. It's going to be different than what I'm doing, but really got to keep this in mind. It's so much better to get a cheaper guy who's 123K or 117K than to start paying for mid prices. It's not round 1 or 2. Now we need to make bulk cash gen. One thing that Supercoach, one thing that Skodfather was talking about in his latest video for his trade plans for this week was Charlie Comben's great, but the 100K you get from downgrading a player instead of bringing in Comben is a lot better. And I kind of go by that. Kai Lohman's one, fantastic if you guys had brought him in last week. Similar to Comben, I think there's probably better options. I don't know how good he's going to be over the next few weeks, but he did kick a couple of goals. So maybe that kind of keeps him in the team a little bit more. We'll wait and see. Negative 52 break even is fantastic. So not too bad there. I do not think he is going to, Yeah, no, he should make his negative 52. I don't see that not happening. Lafau, as Joe says, fantastic player. I wish we had picked him up because that 108 is going to be in his system for another 3 weeks, and he's going to drive up his price. Drive up his price is probably the right way to say it. So potential downgrade option if you had some trades next week and you have something spare. You maybe don't spend a boost on him, but sideways to Sexton, it can definitely work. Charlie Dean, we're not really talking about unless he plays. Bigging you in is one that I know myself has jumped on early, and I think a lot of people have. Seems to have a really good role, was taking kick-ins at North Melbourne, and was playing as that third tall interceptor role because it was Aiden Core and Comben playing key defenders role last week. So maybe that changes a little bit next week. But 123K forward, probably not an on-field option, but if you're scoring 70s, that's good enough for some cash gen. So if you don't have to, wait till next week. But myself, 2 downgrades, 1 upgrade. So definitely have to get him in. Probably wouldn't pick Jared Lyons. Obviously, we've spoken a bit about his durability and availability in the team. If he gets named, I think it's going to cause a bit of headaches. Similar to Mitch Georgiades, who had a really good game the week before, didn't score this well this week, and he is playing Collingwood. It's going to be tough. If you had got him in, fantastic. If not, that's fine. Blake Drury, another downgrade option. I think you would go big and you in before Drury, just because he's playing forward. He kicked a couple of goals. 78 is fantastic, but yeah, he kicked a couple of goals, which is probably the big thing. I wouldn't jump on him this week. Definitely one of those players that wait another week with him. And similar to that, I will not be jumping on Max Ramsden either. It's tough. We don't have a lot of downgrade options that are on the bubble, but let's say he scored a 60 or a 70, cool. 25 is really going to hurt his case. He's probably going to go up, let's say, to be 150K, and you're spending a trade to offload him at that point. I'm not even convinced he's best 22 at the moment. So, Hawks fans, let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? Sam Darcy, fantastic player. Hope he keeps trudging on. Bevo loves him. He kicks goals. Fantastic. Mac Andrew is one who I've heard a lot about, and a lot of people are really talking about as well. 2 scores in the 90s, which is bloody fantastic. Potential sideways option if you guys are really stuck and you want a super pod. I think he's getting better and better, playing a little bit of that interceptor type role. I know Collins takes like the best defender. Andrew's been taking a bit of the defender, but then he does a lot of intercepts. The guy's a freak. He what was it, pick 5 in the draft a few years ago. So you can kind of see why there. I personally will not be jumping on him. I don't know if his scores of a 92. Yes, he'll jump up in price. Let's say he gets to 450K. Cool. Fantastic. If you've got a spare trade, let's say you're on 30 plus trades, you don't have a Massimo or a Zach Williams, and that kind of leads into what I'm saying as well, why I would say not get him in, because a lot of us have those two, and a lot of us have a closely at D6. So how does this guy fit in your team? Potentially, if your backline has nothing, maybe you've got like a Dacos and a Sheasel, and then that's it. Cool. Okay, I can see a world where you would put Mac Andrew in if he can keep up this level of scoring. But for right now, it's a no-no for me. Let me know down in the comments, guys. Is he someone that you're bringing in? Or I've seen a few teams and definitely been asked on our Monday live stream about him. And probably going to be asked tomorrow about him as well. I don't know how he's going to go against Sydney. But their forward line's not that great. So maybe he pops out another 90. Sean Manor is okay if he gets selected. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to happen. And what is he, average of 43? He's one that I would have loved to go to a North Melbourne or someone like that, playing a small forward role. But he's already behind Stengel and Brian Myers and probably Dempsey and a couple of these other players who can play that roaming type role. It sucks because he just got drafted. He wants to play every game, and now he's been relegated back to the VFL again. So it's not great. Harley Reid, fantastic player. That 108 is going to be great for us because it means he's probably going to get to around that 400K mark. 3 rounds of 108 in your system and just getting better. I think every week's worth of scoring has just been better and better and better. So really good there. Unlucky some people traded him away. Supercoach God, if you're watching, it happens. Finn McGuinness is probably one of the last ones that we'll talk about. Yeah. I won't be selecting Supercoach, basically. Borlase is there as well. Carl Warner, who does have a lowish break even, but still hasn't been selected in the team. Checking. So, yeah, still, I don't know if he's doing concussion issues, but definitely just hasn't been picked. Draper has cemented that spot a little bit. And then I think they've got Wagner and a few other guys to come back. So, kind of hurts. Shannon Neal, though, is one who I'm really watching over the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, there's no DPP because I think he's playing a bit of ruck. I know he's a ruck generally. But that 88 is really good. If he comes out with another 100 score, there are people that will jump on next week. It's a no from me. Similar to other players, get the 102Ks because the difference between that and Shannon Neal is 80K, and that's basically could be an upgrade. It's the difference between you getting a 620K player in or a 540K player. And I know which one I'd probably like a lot better in my team. Gibcus will never play again, so that kind of sucks. McAuliffe is one that a lot of us are looking at over the next couple of weeks. So if he gets named next week, potential downgrade option. The 58's great, but an average of a 37 in his, it's really not good. So, yeah, it kind of sucks. I think that's about it. I'm really hoping that Sexton, it's not going to happen this week, but I'm really hoping that Sexton gets another game or two just because of that low break even. I'd rather keep him till middle of the year when we get our mid-season draftees, 102K rookies. Fantastic. Speaking to Joe about this before, and hopefully Sexton can play 1 or 2 games. It's kind of why I kept Berry in the team a couple of weeks ago. He still had a negative break even. So if he plays, even if he's the sub, he'll still make us a little bit of money. Similar with the Sexton. If he comes in, scores some points, I'm very happy for him to score 40 points next week, jump up to 200K. That's all we need. So if that happens, fantastic. It's when he starts to lose money, which is when you need to be worried about. But Graham, Closey's come in, a few of these other players. I don't know if Dimmer hates him. It potentially could happen. He's a real liability in the team, and that's why him and a few of these other older players have been kicked out for the younger guys. So someone to watch. Don't offload yet. Look at my team. I can run him on the bench as a loophole option, which is going to be great over the next couple of weeks. But I'd rather not have dead rookies if I can survive it. Just looking down the list, Darcy Wilson, fantastic player. Hopefully you guys have stuck fat. I was looking at his score the other day or during our other episode, and this 25 is going to be out of his system. So next week he's going to have 58, 61, and hopefully another score around the 60s, which should mean his break even potentially could be negative, which means a lot more cash. So hopefully you guys didn't jump off at this 165K. He's already made 40K on top of that. I can really see him getting to about 280 is probably where I'm seeing him at, and slow burn for a lot of players who, we're trading out other guys at the moment. We don't need to worry about him. I've seen some people jump on Hugo Garcia potentially next week, but I need to see a lot more from him. And yeah, that's probably about it, really. Obviously, we're keeping Zach Williams, Toby Pink, unlucky. A lot of people have kept Tom Berry, so fantastic. That 88 is going to be in his system. Similar kind of thing with Harley Reid as well. So it's going to make him jump up in price, jump up in scoring, and jump up in value, which is what we want. So yeah, very, very happy for those people that have kept him. I know there were a lot of people jumping off just after the buy as a cash cow option. I don't think Tom Emmett's viable. Jacob Weir, a bit of a slow burn like Darcy Wilson. And that is probably about it. A lot of people did have Tom Brown. He only jumped up 26K. So if you brought him in last week as an option, so far it hasn't worked. I don't think he's going to get deselected or get kicked out of the best 22. But that 29 in his price is 29 in his scoring is not great. Elliot Yeo, fantastic player. Still some options if you guys want to bring him into your team. If I wasn't doing the trades that I was doing, the DPP is fantastic. If he's played, 5 games already, maybe his body's set. He did go over to Qatar, similar with McGovern, and they do magic over there. So potentially chuck him in your team if he wants. As a keeper option, he's already averaging 115 at 530K. So last week was the best time to get him in. This week, there's still a chance. And, I don't think he's going to be midfield keeper, but in the back line, cool. As a DPP swing between the two at the end of the season, not too bad there. Let's check out, is there anyone else relevant? Collar O'Sullivan, I probably wouldn't bring into my team, though they did play North Melbourne and the ball wasn't in their back line as much. Maybe that changes this week versus Brisbane. Caulfield, yeah, kind of sucks. And I think that is it here. Hopefully Finbar Maley comes into the team. So they're the cheap guys we've looked at. Let's check out the more expensive ones. So Darcy McPherson is not really Supercoach relevant, so we don't need to worry about. Same with Mason Wood and Doherty. Liam Shields, obviously not as well. Moving down to the premiums, really. So Bailey Dale probably isn't relevant in Supercoach anymore, which is a bit sad. Really needs to move clubs. Maybe North Melbourne would love him. Tom Green is one who I'm a bit worried about. 181 break even. And for those people that didn't start him, he's not going to get anywhere close to that this week. So he is going to end up about 550k. And that is going to be fantastic for you guys who did not start Tom Green. Papley, probably not relevant in Supercoach, similar to a Darcy Parish. Potentially he comes back. I'm not sure. Sam Taylor is the same. Witherden, no. Walpole, no. Bontempelli. So similar to a Tom Green. Bontempelli has a break-even of 164. He's going to drop down potentially to sub 600k, which is crazy, which is not what we wanted in Supercoach. He's averaging Bontempelli, and then this is a shaker, right? Bontempelli at 5 weeks into the season is basically averaging the same as Elliot Yeo. How about that? Like, when has that ever happened in Supercoach? It sucks. And for us that started him, it hurts. If you could have started a Zach Merritt for 60k cheaper, and you'd be laughing right now. Pendlebury, not really relevant. Jump on Bont in a couple of weeks, similar to a Tom Green, if you don't have them. Clayton Oliver is one who I'm tracking really heavily right now. So, did his hand, took some time off. I'm not sure what the surgery's like, what the time frame is for that. I think he's got 1 or 2 more weeks to go, but 502k already, dropped 170k. So I know a lot of us weren't going to pick him anyway in Supercoach, but it is something to talk about. Negative 150, also 158 break even as well. So imagine Clayton Oliver, a world in Supercoach, where we said at the end of last year, next year, you'll be able to pick up Clayton Oliver at around 430k. Imagine if I had Big J, you're crazy. What's going on? Clayton Oliver. It's going to happen, boys and girls. Jack McRae is trending nicely. I think he's been named in the midfield, or at least in the roving rotation, which is fantastic. Going to drop a lot in cash. Potentially could be an option. Massive wait and see, though. Like, just don't do it at all for right now. He's going to drop down to probably around, depending on what he scores this week, he has a poor game, 400k. Maybe downgrade a Harley Reid or someone to him. Though we were talking about in the video before, Harley Reid to Clayton Oliver doesn't look too bad to me. Now, we're getting to the point where a few of these players potentially could make their break evens. So we'll wait and see for those. But Luke Jackson, I think at this point, if you've got him, fantastic, keep him. He's going to have a good game this week versus BJ Williams, who gives away a lot of points. Over the next couple of weeks, though, Sean Darcy potentially is in the team or not in the team. I think they're going to manage him, which will mean that he plays to start and then gets subbed for like maybe a midfielder or a forward, depending on what it's like. And then imagine Luke Jackson gets 50% pure ruck time, or back to what he was in the first few weeks. So I know a lot of people have jumped off. I know during the buys, a lot of people have him as their R2. Maybe Gorn's out for a week or a Grundy. Jackson in, fantastic. At least you've got 23 players playing. Obviously, that 72 is not great. So he's probably going to drop down to maybe 530k. It's okay. You've got a premium in the forward line that, due to no DPP basically happening at least in the first first 6 weeks, is a keeper option for right now. There's a couple of players here who I'm definitely tracking over the next week. Christian Petrarca. Now, if Petrarca next week was not playing Richmond, I'd be happy to hold and just wait. But Richmond give up so much points to midfielders that I can really see him hitting his break-even of 156 next week. It's something to watch. It really is, because he's just going to kill us if you don't have him. His run after the Richmond game, or during the Richmond game, but from that point onwards, what is there? Round 7, so 15 games. I think he plays 3 or 4 games that aren't at the MCG after that, and he scores well at the MCG, either his home game or the opposition home game, and he's just going on fire. So he's one that you definitely need to get in your teams. Obviously not this week because of the bye, but either next week or the week after. Hopefully this 59 keeps his score a bit lower. If you can get Petrarca at 580k, you're laughing. Like Massimo plus a crappy rookie on the bench equaling Petrarca, mate, any day of the week you're doing that. Brad Crouch, not super coach relevant, but similar to Petrarca, Sarong has West Coast this week. I hope he's the one that gets targeted, because I didn't want him at 640k to start the season. I want him at sub 600k. If I can get Caleb Sarong in at, below 600, Petrarca at below 600, I'm going to be very happy because that's two primos who are top 10, who are right now very, very cheap. And I don't think Zach Merritt is going to drop in price either. Moving down the list, Rory Laird, potentially some cash gen drop as well, average of 110. Rory Laird is averaging less than Elliot Yeo. These boys are not. Oh, Christian Petrarca is currently averaging less than Elliot Yeo. Imagine that. Like, if I'd say, hey guys, less than Elliot Yeo, it's crazy. Rory Laird, going to drop in price, potentially an option there. Isn't going to get DPP, which was kind of prophesized at the start of the season. Sucks if you had Jaden Short and started him. Hopefully, you guys have jumped off now. Moving down the list, Errol Goulden is going to be cheaper. Is he an option potentially? I know some people are going to jump on him at, let's say, 550k. He does have an okay average. Hopefully, that starts to jump up. Big watch and see if he's going to be top position this year. Tom Stewart as well. So, as I was saying before, guys, get on your Petrarca, get on your Sarong, and leave your defense alone at the moment. There's a lot of plays in there that you can just hold, scoring 80s and 90s. Don't jump on Tom Stewart this week. 142 break even. Yes, he's cheap. He's not going to score that. The guy's averaging a 105. He right now is priced at, let's say, 550k. He's going to drop even further. You might be able to get Tom Stewart at 500k, depending on what he scores over the next 2 weeks. So watch and see. Still top position, but something's changed this year in the Geelong team. Moving down the list, 136. These are coming to the points where his average, or players' average, is going to be close to their break even. So Zach Merritt is one that you really need to track. I'm hoping Adelaide can tag him, do something to give him a stinker, because we're paying top dollar for Zach Merritt. And look at his price. It hasn't changed since his starting, basically. He's not like these guys who've dropped a lot. Jack Varney's dropped a lot, that kind of thing. Zach Merritt is appropriately priced, and he probably will be for the whole season. Watch and see. You need him in your team. Top 10, top 8, probably top 4 midfielder. Moving down the list, Harry Mackay, if you've got him or not. We'll look at the Ruckman after this as well. Harry Mackay, it's not great. Jordan Dawson is one who's going to drop even further in price. Like, we might be able to get Jordan Dawson at 450k the way that he's going. Hopefully, he can jump back up in scoring, but even just that 64 is going to hurt him for the next 3 weeks. So, yeah, kind of sucks. Maybe his price or his scoring jumps up this week because Crouch is out of the team for a week. Caleb Daniel, not really relevant in Supercoach. Moving down, I know a lot of people had Max King, and unfortunately, the 9 in his scoring. It's not great. I think he's out for a week. Yeah, that's what it's looking like at the moment. McGovern, I'd probably pick Elliot Yeo over McGovern at the moment. 112 average, which is okay, but appropriately priced, basically. Has a little bit of cash to lose. And similar with Sicily as well. He's actually on the uprise. So he's lost 86k, started off at what, 620-ish, and now has actually had his price drop, and he's starting to go up. So depending on how he goes against North Melbourne, you might end up having to think about getting him in. But why would you do that when other defenders are doing better? Someone to watch. One of your traditional, similar to a Stewart, one of your traditionally always best, top 8 players. So LDU, similar, is one to watch. I do not know what's happened with him. I think he just looks disinterested. I was talking about it with Joe today, saying maybe he's just sick of losing every week and isn't really trying. So hopefully that bounces back. But LDU at 480k could really happen. Jordan Clark, not really relevant at the moment. 103 average. He can put out the big scores, but feels like he's starting to fall back a little bit when they're playing better teams. Expecting a good price rise, though, from him this week. And now we're really starting to get into the break-even alongside scoring. So Lockie Neal, appropriately priced if you're considering him. Someone to really watch out for depending on your buy round. Lockie Whitfield, similar position. Let's have a look if there's anyone there. So now we're moving down to guys who their average is actually below. So these guys are probably going to end up going up a little bit in price. Zach Butters, good time to get on him. Maybe not this week, but 128 average is going to start going up in price again. That 130, he had a couple of games where he was scoring 100 or just under 100, and that seems to have cycled out in his scoring. Let's have a quick look. So yeah, this 98, this is the last week that the 98 is going to be in his cycle. I think it was even last week was the last week. So after that, 119, 130 plus whatever else he scores. And he's projected at a 122. So if you don't have Butters, consider. Let's have a look. Luke Ryan is a beast. I can't believe this guy is going to go up again in price. Probably D1 at the moment alongside Cecil. 136 average, 115 break even. It really is tough. If you don't have him, you need to make some plans to potentially get him into your team, either around the buys or just go antipod. He's going to have a game where he has a stinker. It just doesn't look like it at the moment, unfortunately. Moving down the list, anyone else? Tuke Miller is one that I have been looking at. I'm not going to get him into my team. It really feels like a lot of people are getting him in. Sub 600K. He's gone up, 37K. So he's going to start going up in price. His break even's lower than his average. His average this week is probably going to go up a bit. And that 133 is going to be great for him. But it's something to watch out for. His role at the club seems to have changed a little bit. And it seems like he's being a little more accountable. So your Matt Rao, so your Andersons can do a lot better. I know I talked about streamlined Tuke Miller, shaved his body, shaved his beard, shaved everything. I think Dimmer's kind of said, hey, mate, you're one of the leadership group players. Do what you need to do so the other guys can do that because they're winning games. So this week's going to be a bit of a test. I've gone Rao, as you saw from my video earlier, but Tuke Miller is an option. It's just tough. He might only average around this, and other players are going to average this, and it's tough. Jesse Hogan, 464K. I basically jumped off him 2 weeks ago, and I'm more than happy to have done that because he's already started to lose money. And his average is lower than his break even, which is not great. Anyone else relevant in Supercoach? So similar to what we said about Bont and Tom Green, if you had antipoded these players alongside a Nick Dacos, you would be very, very happy. 566K, already lost 80K, had a couple of dud scores. He is around what his scoring break even is, though. So if he starts to score well, which I'm hoping he does a lot more than a 107, he's going to start jumping up in price. So if you don't have Nick Dacos, get him in now. I think Collingwood has a few runs at MCG. Let's have a quick look. Similar to Melbourne. Yeah. So there's a lot of MCG coming up. Some Marvel, MCG after that as well. So get him in your team if you haven't got him already. I think I've got a gut feeling he's going to have a big game this week. Moving down the list. Let's have a look. Cripps is probably not relevant in Supercoach. And then we'll flip it around and we'll do like the big premium. So you guys should really consider putting into your team as well. I think that is effectively it for now. McKercher is one that I will say probably time to offload. I love the kid. I think he's bloody fantastic. But in terms of Supercoach, he's already made us 80K. He's made me less money because I had to trade him in. So I'm already behind in the McKercher trade. And this 6 in his system is going to kill him. So next week, a 6 in his average. The week after, a 6 in his average. And then potentially the week after that, a 6 in his average as well. He's going to drop. Joe said keep him. I'm okay. But he's going to drop in money. It is going to hurt over the next 2 weeks. And, I'd rather not keep a guy I'm not getting as much out of him as I would this week. So it kind of sucks. I think Sanders potentially is in another similar position. But, yeah, moving down the list, I think that is it. Break-evens are starting to get there. Let's quickly check out the high break-evens of the rookies, and then we'll go through to the premiums on the low end. So these are all your rookies, 350K, or let's go 300K, around that price that you guys need to consider or get rid of. So, high break-even. Let's make this happen. Cool. We've spoken about Glowseek. Yep. So, looking down here, is anyone Supercoach relevant, really? I know Dempsey is pretty close. I think we can get a couple of weeks left out of a Dempsey, 33 average, so it's still okay. McKercher, I've just spoken about. I'm getting off him. Hopefully, a few of you guys are as well. Anyone else who a lot of people have in their Supercoach teams? Jai Clark, I think, is one. That two's gone, mate. You got to jump off Jai Clark at this point. Quickly check. Let me see. Harry Hustwaite, if you've got him, I don't think really people do, though. Let me quickly check. We're just having a quick look through all of these names. If I've missed anyone, let me know. Sam Berry is one who's very interesting. I don't think people have got him. Break even of a 50. I think if you've still got Sam Berry, you've got 2 weeks basically of this 33 in your price rise. So it's a rough one. Jump off him, guys. And moving down the list, sorry, where is McKercher? Did I miss McKercher? Oh, Harvey Thomas is fantastic. Keep Harvey Thomas too. Let me see if I've got McKercher. Sorry. Okay, cool. I think that's why I've got to increase this a little bit. Yeah. So Riley Sanders is one that I'm going to have a quick talk about. Bevo is really painful, and Riley Sanders is getting dicked around a little bit at the moment. A 49 break even isn't great. There is potential for him to come back and score big. So if you don't need to trade him, if you don't want players in your team that you need to get rid of, Riley Sanders, fantastic. But for me personally, I'm saying jump off. He's made a little bit of money for us, sure, but if he's scoring 50s and 60s, I'm just check what his projected price rise is, so I'm not talking nonsense. Yeah, cool. You make 40K or 20K even from Riley Sanders with projections of 60s. It's not much money left, and that 300K with a rookie downgrade to a Graham is now 200K plus in the bank that you have. So, yeah. Up to you guys. Let me know down in the comments. Are you guys keeping Sanders or not keeping Sanders? But it's a tough one. Cancel that. So we'll have a quick look now at the rucks. Hopefully you guys have got some ideas for players to bring in, players not to bring in. We're going to have a quick look at the rucks and see, hey, look, what's happening with the ruck situation. A lot of us have a Grundy, and it kind of makes sense to consider what's going to happen. So Naismith, obviously, week off. He's going to be a cash cow for us later on in the season. I'm very, very happy. Similar to a Conway, not for right now, but if he turns out to be a cash cow, why not? Ethan Reed probably plays, but yeah, it's not great. A lot of us have, well, not myself, but a lot of people have Lloyd Meek. And we spoke about this last week. Similar to a Combin, right? If Lloyd Meek keeps popping out 80s, this 130, where was the 130? Total points. Yeah, this 130 is going to be out of your system soon. Not this week, not next week, but the week after. Check it out. Like, you brought in Meek. Maybe he makes you 80K in total. If he keeps up with this level of scoring, it's not great, guys. Like, the 150K could have been mitigated by downgrading a house to, like, Closey last week. It kind of sucks. And then you're spending a trade to get at him. So watch and see for an English or a Marshall, who we'll talk about soon, but you're going to have to spend another trade to get out of him. If he comes out with another 130s, fantastic. I just don't know if it's going to happen. He does have job security, though, because Reeves is out injured for a while. So, yeah, it kind of sucks there. Mailey potentially might play soon, but not right now. Livingston, who I've got in my team, probably will never play. I don't think there's anyone else super relevant in the cheapy section or the low break-even section. So let's check out the most expensive one. So, man of the hour, I know the one that Joe hates is Tim English. Scored a 58 last week, which really killed his break-even and his average, and looks to be just dumping in cash. 194. I don't think it's going to happen. It's got 0% chance that it's going to happen this week. If Marshall wasn't playing, if Darcy wasn't playing, potentially. But they're both playing, so it kind of sucks. I'm going to hopefully get him in cheaper. If not, we might not get him in at all, really. Hopefully he gets forward stats. I know there's some talk that Darcy might play more mid, and then Tim English plays more forward. Would kind of suck. Briggs, not one really has him in Supercoach, but is going to drop a little bit in price. So if you hate Grundy, you want to get off Grundy. Grundy's average has not been good. Briggs potentially is an option. Probably not, though. Luke Jackson, that we spoke about in the forwards part, is looking like he's going to drop off in price. Darcy Cameron, similar thing as well. Not that anyone has him in Supercoach. Max Gawn. So Max Gawn is actually going to go up again in price, really, because his average is close to his break even, a little bit higher. I don't think he's going to average 132, but he's probably going to be around this price for a while. McInerney is there as well. No one really has him in Supercoach. Sean Darcy, probably not. We've spoken about Reeves. Jared Witts potentially is an option. I don't know why you would pick him, though, because he's not best two. Where is Rowan Marshall? So Rowan Marshall is one who only went up $800. I was going to say $800K. Only went up $800, and his break-even has started to plateau with his average. So this week, maybe you can hold out because he's playing the Dogs. I'm not sure how restrictive they're going to be. But after this, Ron Marshall's going to start jumping up in price again. He's going to be similar to Gawn's price. So didn't jump on him last week like I probably should have. It's going to hurt you in the long run there. Brodie Grundy is one to look out for as well. The 103 average is deceptive. As Joe's mentioned before, right now I think we've got about an 85 to a 90 average out of him. We have a look at all the scores that aren't round one because we didn't get that in. So round 0. So right now for us in our Supercoach teams, 71, 99, 144, so 114, 93. It's not great. It is pitiful. And I really hope he's going to do a bit better after his bye. His break-even should go up a little bit, but I can see a world where I downgrade one spot next week and upgrade Marshall to, upgrade Grundy to Marshall if there's not that much of a difference in price next week. So, yeah, something to watch there. I think that's really it. A few people still have Tristan Cherry. Average is doing well compared to his break-even, so he should go up in price. Ironically, we picked Brodie Grundy because he was going to go up in price, and we didn't pick Cherry because he was going to go up in price. And now Cherry's going to be more expensive than Grundy over the next week, so that kind of sucks. Good luck for those people that had picked him. Moving down the list, I think it's similar to before. There's no one really relevant there. Guys, that is our break-evens run, solo style. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe. We've got the ride home tomorrow, our live stream on Thursdays, going through all the team sheets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned, guys. Playing your teams, make everything worthwhile. One of the big things right now is plan for the later buys. Make sure that you get your premiums at a cheaper price, as I said at the start of the season. Time for paying up for expensive players is done. You can get Zach Meriden, fantastic, doing well. But Petrarca's going to be cheap. Sarong's going to be cheap. Oliver's cheap. Dawson's cheap. All of the guys are cheap. And after this kind of time, similar to a Marshall, right? He's had his price drop. Now he's going to start jumping up. Over the next few weeks, that's going to happen. And you need to stack your midfield right now. The forward line's poo. We don't need to worry about the forward line. We've got rookies outscoring premiums almost in that position. A lot of us have Closey, Massimo, D'Ambrosio. So Massimo, Zach Williams, Closey in our back line, who are scoring close to 100 anyway. That's basically cheaper Primo style. They'll go up in price a bit more. Stack your midfield while you can. Here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you guys don't have to. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you tomorrow.